Hey YouTube, welcome to Sunkerns Lab. Today I have a Yu battle on Pokemon Showdown. I'm using a team that I built recently. It's basically a Volt Turn team. There's really not much to say about it. Everything on the team has a form of Volt Turn, except for Weavile, which is sort of the loner in the team, which basically is just a Swords Dance set. It's basically just there just to either wall break or late game sweep depending on the situation, so that's his job. And other than that, the only really special thing I have on this team is a specially defensive Rotom-Heat, which isn't really the norm, I guess, but it definitely is a good set, and it completely walls things like Zapdos, which my opponent does have a Zapdos, so hopefully my Rotom-Heat will have his time to shine in this battle. So anyway, looking at my actual opponent's team, he has a decently bulky team. He has a Snorlax, he has a Quagsire, and he has a Zapdos, which, Zapdos is a relatively versatile Pokemon. He can be physically defensive, specially offensive. He can be agility, baton pass. I mean, I don't know what this thing is going to be, so we're going to have to see what kind of set he is as we get into the battle. So, but actually looking at what my opponent might lead with, the only thing I can see that would consist of a lead for him is his Flygon. So what I'm going to do is lead with my Weavile, and if he decides to go for the U-turn, I'm going to know that he's Scarfed, and obviously I'm not going to stay in, so I could switch out into something else. He'll go for the U-turn, and I will see that he's Scarfed. If he's not Scarfed, he's just going to flat switch out, so that'll be some useful information for later on in the match. So yeah, that's how I'm going to start off the match, leading with my Weavile, but he ends up leading with his Snorlax, which is pretty surprising to me. But what I'm going to do is just switch straight out to my Gligar, expecting a return or something, but he actually goes with the EQ, and I'm just going to stay in and set up my Stealth Rocks, expecting to be safe, but he actually has the Ice Punch, which is really strange on a Snorlax, but it actually works out for him because he can do a huge chunk of damage to my Gligar, and force me basically to switch out because I can't wall him, and I'm going to go for the U-turn because, like I said, I can't wall him, so I'm going to go into my Rotom-Heat, which is specially defensive, but it can take Ice Punches all day, and it has Will-O-Wisp to burn this Snorlax as a huge truck goes by my house. But anyway, I go for the Will-O-Wisp, he switches out into his Quagsire, and I notice that this thing doesn't have leftovers after it takes burn damage, or before it takes burn damage or anything. No leftovers on this thing, so I was kind of surprised by that, so I'm going to switch out to my Xatu, basically hoping to take a Waterfall. But he goes for the Stone Edge, and it still does a pretty decent amount considering he's burned, which leads me to believe completely that he is an offensive Quagsire, which is something that I have never seen, and I don't think I'll ever see again. So I am going to switch out into my Gligar to take the last Stone Edge, that way I can save my Xatu as death fodder for later on, and he'll just die off to the burn. So that's actually what I do, and now he brings in a Snorlax after his Quagsire goes down, and I can't really stay in because I don't want to take an Ice Punch once again, so I'm going to go for the U-turn and take this opportunity to fodder out my Xatu, because I don't really know what else I can really do here, and you know, I kind of want to bring in my Mienshao to scare this thing out, so I bring it in, I go for the U-turn. I'm not going to go for the high jump kick just yet because he does have this Zapdos, which I don't really want to stay in on, so I'm going to go for the U-turn, go into my Rotom-Heat, which completely walls every form of Zapdos, and go for the Volt Switch. I was actually predicting him to switch into his Snorlax. There we go. So anyway, he goes into his Flygon instead, is immune to the Volt Switch, and then goes straight for the Outrage. Almost takes me out, but I'm able to survive and go for a Will-O-Wisp, and then switch out to my Gligar. Now, because this thing is locked into Outrage, I know I have basically a free switch into my Flygon, and then I can get up a free Roost, get up to almost full health, and you know, I'm in a pretty good position here. And on top of that, I have previous knowledge of how much Ice Punch was doing to my Rotom, so I know for a fact I can live with my Rotom as far as I know. But he goes for the Ice Punch, and he actually gets max damage, and I actually did calculate later, it was absolute max damage, which is not really a big deal, but I could have lived and gone for the Pain Split, which would have been really nice for later on, but you know, not a big deal. And I'm able to go for the high jump kick, kill his Snorlax off even through his Chople Berry, and then he brings in his Zapdos to revenge kill me, more than likely. So I'm going to switch out into my Gligar, predicting the Electric type move, and then go for the U-turn, predicting the Roost, and then I'm going to switch into my Weavile, because Weavile is pretty much the only thing on my team that can really deal with the Zapdos, and go straight for the Ice Punch. Now, he brings in his Heracross, and at this point I'm pretty much assuming that this Heracross is Scarfed, because, I mean, why else would he bring it in on a Weavile? So I go into my Gligar, and seeing that he locked himself into close combat, or what I think is locked into close combat, I go for the U-turn, but he stays in, and I'm like, holy crap, what can I fodder out, because this thing is going to kill something. And he actually has a bug gem on top of it all, goes for the Mega Horn, takes out my Raikou in one shot. But knowing that he's not Scarfed now, I can bring in my Weavile and basically take him out without any issue whatsoever with an Ice Punch. So that's what I do, and now he's going to go into his Bisharp, predicting to completely wall me. But I actually carry the low kick specifically for Bisharps, so I'm just going to go for that, take that Bisharp out, and now he's going to go into his Flygon, and it's basically, at this point, it's a matter of getting into my Mienshao, and as soon as I get into my Mienshao, it's basically game, because between all the burn damage and the U-turn damage from my Gligar, I'll definitely be able to take him out with any move from my Mienshao. So I am going to go into my Mienshao again, like I have said previously, and I'm going to go for the U-turn because it's at so low health. What I can do is U-turn out now, go into my Weavile. Obviously his last Pokemon is the Zapdos, so I basically just save a turn of, I save a few turns of BS, and I'm able to just take out his Zapdos in one hit with the Ice Punch. So that's going to be the game. It was a pretty good match. His sets really surprised me, and they kind of threw me off guard. They were weird, and they were also somewhat useful in the situations that he used them in. So I don't know. It was an odd battle, but it was also pretty good. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. You can feel. If you want to, you can click the like button or leave a comment, and feel free to click the buttons on your screen to go to the previous Pokemon Showdown video or the next one when it's uploaded. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.